Citizen Chandu may be having a cup that cheers, but he himself has 3 jeers for everything done by others. One morning in 1948, we find him at breakfast when an important item in the paper arrests his attention. Government plans fertilizer factory in India. Factory will be able to produce 1,000 tons of ammonium sulfate per day. Stop being a cynic, says his better half. The only thing that factory will produce is more propaganda. Take it from me. Chandu's carping comments are cut short by the arrival of their friend Raju. He says, have you seen the good news?
The housing board is inviting applications for allotment of 2-room houses. Why don't we apply?
Mrs. Chandu says, good idea. Here we are living in cramped quarters. We should apply. Quite, says Chandu, and have plenty of room for complaining afterwards. Not me. I'll find my own accommodation. And you'd better do the same, Raju. You can trust me to get you a decent house. And off goes Mr. Critic to the office. But Chandu's keen sense of rumor gets the better of him. He must spread his views about the fertilizer factory. I say, have you read the latest? I'll tell you all about it. It's the biggest national bungle yet made in the country. Just idle daydreams. Nothing will come of it.
I'm not interested.
Raju, however, isn't put off by Chandu's comments on housing boards. He puts in an application. Well, no harm in trying. At the office, Chandu's pet topic is still the foolishness of fertilizer factories. Now the victim is a colleague. He and others like him have to put up with Mr. Critic day after day. Despite snubs, Chandu keeps on with his monologue. In spite of Mr. Critic and others like him, we know today that the Sindri fertilizer factory is a giant national dream happily come true. For 1,000 tons of fertilizer are being produced at Sindri every day. By reducing imports of fertilizer, valuable foreign exchange is saved. Our farmers know Sindri's worth. Look at the harvest they are now getting. In 7 years, our country's achievements have been remarkable, thanks to efficient planning and production. But chronic critics like Chandu thrive on poo-pooing every venture they come across. His wife's furious because he still hasn't got decent accommodation, while Raju has a good flat at a reasonable rent, because Raju had faith in the housing scheme. Be patient, Mrs. Chandu, for your husband's habit is rather widespread in our country.
সরকার সমানে বলছেন ইয়া করেঙ্গা ওয়া করেঙ্গা কিন্তু আমি বলছি করছেনটা কি
ಅರೆ ಹೋಗೆ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳೋಕೆ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ವಿಚಾರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಷಣಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ
This is Shriyut, an armchair critic, always prone to criticize and condemn as long as he doesn't have to move a muscle, other than his tongue, of course. Not all poo-pooers thrive in the cities. Some flourish in the country, like Ramu here. When the village punch tells him that a nearby branch of the new canal system will provide their fields with water all the year round, Ramu answers, what good is that? All the bijli is being taken out of the water at the bijli ghar. The punch tries to explain the fallacy of such a statement. But Ramu insists that by the time the water reaches his fields, it will have no energy left to grow his crops. The punch retires amazed at Ramu's pig-headedness. Then there are shady operators like Sethji.
Have you heard the latest, Sethji? Government is controlling sugar prices.
सत्यानाश हो सरकार का। मुनीम जी, सरकार ने शक्कर पर कंट्रोल लगा दिया।
ये खबर तो आज के अखबार में भी छपी है सेठ जी, जरा देखिए तो क्या लिखा है इसमें।
ये सरकार
Why doesn't the government govern only and leave the selling of sugar to me? The Munim says the government is useless anyway, and Sethji wholeheartedly agrees. Because the government is trying to check undue profiteering, Sethi considers it his personal enemy. Ramesh here is an impatient youth.
With its aim of universal literacy in the country, the government plans to achieve the target of 30% literacy within 5 years.
That's too slow for Ramesh. Look at the countries of the West. Almost 100% literate, and we settle for only 30%. And in 5 years. Friend Harish reminds him that 30% literacy is no little achievement. It means providing education for an additional 10 million people. A start is always difficult, but once underway, it gathers momentum. And it is gathering momentum due to people like Harish, who lend a helping hand instead of being impatient poo-pooers. Thousands like him spend their free time and vacations taking part in rural uplift, educating villagers, teaching them about health and hygiene, even building roads to achieve economic prosperity. Our national achievements in the last 7 years are worthy enough to give us faith in our country's future. Not only us, but a watching world as well. Our river valley projects are eradicating famine and want. Irrigation on a giant scale is rejuvenating our land, making self-sufficiency in food a permanent thing. While our hydroelectric schemes are ushering in an age of sound economic prosperity. Our industrial production increases year by year because of new factories like Chittaranjan for locomotives and the one at Bangalore for aircraft. Manufacturing of every kind is being encouraged throughout India, and the state sees that basic industries like steel are given an impetus. The nation's wealth increases daily as mineral resources are exploited to the full. Oil products, essential for industrialization, are being further developed. Our villages awaken to the tune of progress. Old farming methods give way to new. The village economy is being enlivened, and well-earned rewards are evident in the bumper crops being harvested. Most creditable of all is the desire for betterment so evident now in every village. Willing cooperation by the villagers themselves is a new movement, a vital force changing the face of rural India. But some people still can't get out of the habit of persistent poo-pooing. They'll probably always be like that. What India needs today is more people who do things instead of only saying things. Active participation in the building up of our country. Whether you're a villager or live in a city, whether you are a scientist or a mechanic, an engineer or a doctor. Don't be another Chandu. This time, he can't find anything to criticize the government for. So, he takes it out on the boss.
Chandu, why didn't you do this? Chandu, why didn't you do that? Chandu, you're 5 minutes late again. I'm sick and tired of the boss criticizing me all the time. Who does he think he is? The fussy old fool?
So I'm a fussy old fool, am I? Get up and get out. Out! Good night, sir. Out!
Well, Mr. Critic, you certainly talked yourself out of a job. Asked why he's home so early, he says, I've resigned from my job. I knew this habit of criticizing would get you into trouble someday. If only you'd learn to mind your own business. Mind your own business. A very good idea. And not long afterwards, he is very happy minding his own business, a shop of his own. When a farmer called to make some purchases, Chandu is in his element. His gift of the gab is now a positive asset as he convinces the farmer of the necessity of buying, guess what? Fertilizer from Sindri, the very project he poo-pooed to start with. If you keep it up, Chandu, they'll have to open another factory to meet your sales. Well, well, if it isn't Ramu, using canal water. What made him change his mind? When the Panch inquires how he got over his prejudice, Ramu says, Panchji, they must have put the bijli back into the water. That's why I'm getting bumper crops. Chandu and Ramu have been cured of their poo-pooing habit, but not Setji. He even grumbles in his sleep.